Hello everyone. On December the 6th, Mars is coming home into his own sign of Scorpio, where he meets up with the other ruler of Scorpio, Ketu. This is a dramatic combination because both Mars and Ketu are aggressive and ruthless. What will this mean for the world and in your own life? I have all the details. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below, and if the video is good for you, give it a thumbs up. Let's begin. Let's look at the astrology, everybody. It's so important. On December the 6th, Mars enters into his own sign of Scorpio. Now, Mars in Scorpio is in a completely different mood to Mars in Aries. In Aries, he's got his armor on. He's ready for the battle. He's ready to fight. In Scorpio, he's not in that mood at all, you should understand. This is his true home. Where is the home of the army general? In the army barracks, right? But it's more like a bunker. It's more like hidden underground. Why? Where do scorpions live? They live in little holes in the ground. That's why Mars is so powerful in Scorpio. He's hidden from sight. People don't know what he's up to, but he's watching everybody else. He's planning. He's got the drawing board out. He's ready for his next move. He's in a very powerful and potent position. But this time, when he gets home to Scorpio, Ketu, the co-ruler of the sign, is also there. Now, Ketu is like Mars, an army general of sorts, but a different army general. An army general with no scruples, with no holes barred. He is ruthless because he has his own agenda and he is without a head. He doesn't think at all. He simply acts. So, these two army generals are getting together to plan. And who is there with them? Again, this is very interesting. The sun. And who is the sun? The sun is the government, the king and the ruler. So this configuration in Scorpio this year has great importance for governments of the world. I'll talk about that in a minute. But in your own life, it is a very important turning point. In everybody's life, this Mars in Scorpio is a time of careful planning and preparation. It's an amazingly powerful time for transforming your life into something different, for completely getting rid of unnecessary things in your life. Maybe even unnecessary people sometimes. There's a ruthlessness with this Mars Ketu, but use it wisely. It's extremely powerful transit to turn your life in another direction entirely. In terms of world affairs, as I've said, this transit is quite momentous. Why? The last time Mars was in Scorpio was December 2019, when the first case of COVID-19 entered into human society. As we know, everything was cloak and dagger, undercover, right? Truly scorpionic at the time. Also, at that time, just prior to COVID-19, there was a solar eclipse happening in the sign of Sagittarius. That's where Ketu was. Ketu carries the karmas in Jupiter's sign. So this was, as I've said many times, a curse of Guru Jupiter. Check out previous videos on my channel to see all about that. At this time also, we have a very important solar eclipse on the 4th of December, just before Mars enters into Scorpio. Check the link below to the video on my channel where I discuss how important and crucial that solar eclipse is for everybody. And those events are actually what is continuing on with this Mars in Scorpio transit. In world government also, this planning, preparation, secrecy and undercover work almost is going on at this time. Preparation for future action. Not until Mars gets into Sagittarius in the middle of January will we really be aware of what these plans are going to be. During the transit in Scorpio, Mars will aspect Jupiter by the 4th aspect. Jupiter in Aquarius, I've already posted a video. Check that out again. I will link below. Demands cooperation between peoples. So Mars having this 4th aspect, which is always one of control, will absolutely demand that. In addition to this, everyone, since Mars entered Scorpio, a new configuration, well, not exactly new, but an old configuration is coming back into our life. Can you see it? It's the Kal-Sarp Yoga, the snake yoga, where Rahu and Ketu axis contain all the planets and cut the chart in two. All the planets are on one side of their axis. This means that energy is contained in everybody's life. There's a restraining factor, but there is also positively a focus. So use this. Use the power of this focus in your life to get the transformation I've been talking about. And by the way, this Kal-Sarp is not truly broken until April of 2022. Another important factor, Scorpio itself represents secrecy but also research, and Mars shows medical research. Mars and Ketu together in their own sign of Scorpio, some very important groundbreaking research will be made available at this time, which may have huge implications for this COVID-19 pandemic. There is a likelihood of new medical interventions that could be very helpful also. But what about the conjunction which Mars will make with the co-ruler of Scorpio Ketu? The exact conjunction takes place on December the 14th, but you will feel the effects of it as soon as Mars enters Scorpio. When Mars and Ketu are together, it's very dramatic. It's almost as though something explodes. But don't forget, it's in Scorpio. It's going to be an internalized factor. Mars and Ketu together create frustration because Mars is being almost sucked into the black hole of Ketu. Sometimes manifestations like blind rage and anger come out, and there can be violence also. What you should be aware of is confrontations with others are never successful at these times. It's like you don't get any conclusion to any arguments. Avoid arguments, avoid heated discussions, because Mars's Agni energy is inflamed by the equal Agni energy of Ketu. But here's another secret about the conjunction. You see, when two fire energies come together like this, one is extinguished. It doesn't just inflame up to an extraordinary degree, one actually goes down. It's just like when you have firefighters who create a smaller fire to suck out the energy from the larger fire. So in this situation, it's Mars whose energy is being curtailed and diminished. Therefore, you will feel as though almost the ground has gone out from under you in your action, in your plans, what you want to do. All of a sudden, there's a stop. You're not able to do the things you want to do. It's a temporary factor, but it creates a lot of frustration. That's why accidents, mishaps are very common in this Mars-Ketu conjunction. Avoiding travel is always a good thing because Mars-Ketu has a difficult effect when you're trying to just move forward smoothly with your life. However, there's one final important date to watch out for in this Mars-Scorpio transit. And that is the New Year period, December the 30th, 31st, and the 1st of Jan 22, when Mars reaches 18 degrees Scorpio. Why is this important? I've mentioned this already on my solar eclipse video. I put that up quite a few weeks ago now, and I made it very clear that when Mars gets to the exact degree of the eclipse, something is going to give. Basically, it means for everybody's life that some element of uncertainty, some element of not knowing which doors you have to go through will completely end. You will know there is this way for you, not that way. So it's a big breakthrough factor in many people's lives when Mars gets to the eclipse degree. Of course, because of the nature of Mars, it can be very agitating in human society in general. So take caution also around these dates. Let's move on to the transit readings. Don't forget to read only from your Vedic or sidereal moon and ascendant sign. Read for both to get the deepest interpretation. If you should have Western positions to your chart, take 23 degrees away from the moon and ascendant to get the correct sign for the reading. Let's begin. Aries, Moon and Lagna. Mars is your Lord and Lord of your 8th house. Such a powerful placement for your Lord, one of the most powerful all year. The 8th house is a tricky and difficult house. And as I've said on the video, the power of Mars in Aries, your Lord, is an impulsive one, but this Mars in Scorpio is calculated and is going to reveal hidden secrets in your life. The first thing about the transit, it will spark off a real desire to make important changes in your financial situation. If you are in business, it's a mega important transformation about to take place. So this will involve finances of all sorts, investments, legacies, wills, family finance, and everything to do with the joint finance with your spouse. There's going to be a complete overhaul in this area. However, this whole transformation is not easy for you because Mars is conjuncting Ketu. Mars, as your lord, as I say, loses power, like I've just spoken about in this conjunction with Ketu. So all of a sudden, you have to give in to the inevitable in some way. Some investments are not working. You have to accept a certain amount of losses, financially probably, during this Mars Ketu transit. But don't worry, you will recoup these in time. Watch your health too, because your lord of your ascendant is your health, and being in the 8th house, there can be accidents and mishaps. So take care during this Mars Scorpio transit. But on the positive side, Mars' strong 4th aspect on the 11th house of your chart will enable you to find avenues to recoup these losses. New sources of income will open up to you. New opportunities will be there for you. You make changes in your friendship network circles also. You want to be with those who support you, and you actually make dramatic changes towards this during this time. The most important thing to avoid, though, is too much impulse, particularly in your speech. You see, Mars has an aspect on the 2nd house of speech and the 3rd house of communication, both houses. You are inclined to be suddenly aggressive, not exactly violent, but impulsive, and saying things which you might regret. You sometimes do this. So depending on your own chart, of course, and your propensity for this, be careful with your conversations with others. They could really upset people and actually cause hurt feelings. So try to maintain the peace in this transit. Won't be easy because other people can be agitated too by this Mars Ketu configuration. Particularly watch with your family and your siblings, especially in this regard. For Taurus, Moon and Lagna, Mars is the lord of your 7th house, the lord of partners, spouse, business partners, and even very, very close friends. And also, he's the lord of your 12th house of expenses and foreign travel. So, when he's in the 7th house, he's not in a happy position. He's in a weakened position. So this means it's a very difficult time for foreign travel if you should have to do that. That's one thing to be aware of. Secondly, it's difficult for your spouse, for your business partner, even for your very close friend. One of those may be having health difficulties at this time. If it's not their health, it may be other factors in their life causing difficulty. So Mars here directly aspecting the ascendant puts a lot of stress into the relationship, into the business partnership, and creates stress for yourself. And you feel this intensely. But the 4th aspect of Mars can be quite favorable, aspecting the 10th house of your chart. This can help you to break through barriers in your career progression, and with your ambitions in your working life. Watch out, though, for the marketplace difficulties if you are in business, but nonetheless, you will break through these with a real feeling of hard work and determination. One thing to avoid, though, if this applies to you, do not get into confrontations with your superiors or your boss. You may be drawn into these, almost sucked into these confrontations, but avoid them at all costs because everybody is feeling the stress of this Mars Ketu, and it never works out in anybody's favor during these sort of transits. Conversely, Mars's aspect onto your 1st house can give you strength to recover from illness, but also make you a little bit accident prone as well. So watch out for that. And the 8th aspect of Mars on the 2nd house will help you get to grips with financial situations which have got out of control. You will put all of your books in order. This can be helpful. But of course, it's a house of speech. So watch for the confrontations I've spoken about on the video. Watch for the agitation and the disputes. They will do you no good at all during this transit. And because the aspect is on the 2nd house of family, you most certainly have the most confrontations also with family members. Be careful. This is a house of what you eat as well. So it's a sensitive thing for Taurus rising. Food gives you so much pleasure. Mars aspecting the 2nd house can give to impulsive and compulsive eating. Something to watch out for. For Gemini Moon, Gemini Lagna, Mars going into the 6th house is a good transit for you. He is the lord of your 11th house. He can bring obstacles in your life, but he's also the lord of the 6th house itself. So when he goes into the 6th house, he sorts out all of the obstacles that he would normally bring. You may face difficulties even with your health, with litigation, with co-workers, all of the normal sixth house factors, even with your partner, but you will absolutely gain through all of them. Somehow, the more issues come up, the more issues get absolutely sorted in your life in this Mars Scorpio transit. This is the time to face head-on your debts in life. The sixth house rules debt. You can have a great increase in income even during this period. Good luck comes to you dealing full-on and head-on with these difficult financial situations. Mars aspect on the 12th house means that you finally get on top of all of your expenses even during this period. Your health itself takes an upturn during this transit. You are feeling more invigorated and confident. This is because of Mars's powerful 8th aspect onto the 1st house of your chart. You're feeling a bit argumentative though, so watch out for that. There could be difficulties with your father or with your father's family, but nonetheless, you can even use this powerful energy to have a dispute and actually heal a dispute at the same time. It's one of those sorts of transits. So even though there may be disturbing developments for your health, in your co-worker situation, in any litigation situation, you will find that no matter what disturbances come up, you become the winner in all of these situations. Make the most of this powerful transformative period in your life. The aspect of Mars on the 9th house of foreign lands and the 12th house, also connected to foreign travel, will indicate that many of you may be on the move now. That could be good for you though, but just make sure that you avoid that difficult period of Mars Ketu around the 14th of December. For Cancer, Moon and Lagna, Mars is a good planet for you because he rules the 5th house itself, a fortunate house, and also the 10th house of your chart. He's a Yoga Karika planet. He can actually bring you great success in life. But in the 5th house itself, he can be a little bit tricky sometimes. So what you have to watch out for is, although your confidence will go up through the roof during this transit, you'll be dealing with some tricky situations in your life that can become quite emotional at times. If you are having children or dealing with children in your life at this time, it can become confrontational. There can be difficulties developing, but once again, you can overcome these by staying calm and focused and not jumping to any negative conclusions. You're certainly feeling very invigorated to change your life in some new direction. You see, Mars has a powerful 4th aspect onto the 8th house of the chart, the actual house of transformation. So you want to just pull the rug out of your financial situation and start again. This Mars 5th house has profound financial implications. But because Mars is not really happy in this Tricone house, be really careful. Even though he's powerful in his own sign, he's with Ketu, as I say on the video, pulling the rug from out of him. If you go in for speculative gain at this time, there could be dramatic losses. Be really careful with this. You may find yourself pushing to change investments or to make progress with wills, legacies and inheritance, but they probably won't go the way you expect at this time. And your friendship network circle with the opposition of Mars become fraught. There can be arguments, difficulties, disagreements, and even splits from long-lasting friends at this time. You can avoid all of this by staying calm and not rising to the bait. Because of Mars's aspect to the 12th house, you may get itchy feet. You love to travel to get away from it all, but again, it can be difficult. There will be unnecessary expenses and a great deal of difficulty traveling during this time. So caution in all things is definitely needed. But the best factor of this transit is that Mars, by aspecting the 12th house, invigorates your subconscious mind. You are a hugely intuitive person. So with this aspect of Mars, watch your dreams. Watch the ideas that come to you seemingly out of the blue. Mars makes you very creative in this 5th house. So good solutions to your problems are coming to you now. Just wait until Mars has moved into a much more powerful position in the 6th house of your chart in January to make the changes. For Leo, Moon and Lagna, take caution in this Mars 4th house transit. It's very tricky for you. Now, Mars is a Yogakaraka to you, just like to Cancer, because he rules a trine house in your chart, 9th house, and the 4th house, a Kendra house. So he's a very powerful planet for you. But when he is ill-placed, as in this transit, he can bring a lot of difficulty into your life. So you have to be cautious about all of your actions during this transit. What he does, strangely enough, is he empowers your enemies because he has a 4th aspect onto the 7th house of the chart. 7th house is not just marriage, it's your opponents as well in life, either in business situations or just generally. In the domestic sphere, home front, it's going to go hectic now. With Ketu there as well, there will be literally holes that need filling in the house. There will be sudden accidents, mishaps, all sorts of home improvements going haywire. It's going to be very stressful indeed in your domestic situation, so be prepared for it and don't let it overtake you. Now, because of these domestic stresses, there are tensions with your spouse or partner or even business partner at this time. Be careful about this. You could actually make things more difficult than they need to be. Try to be patient with other people as much as you can. In your workplace, though, and with your status, there'll be definite changes. You are pushing those doors that are opening. But once again, you don't really know what you're doing, as I've said on the video, until after the 18th of December. Wait until Mars has crossed that eclipse point. It's already occurred in your 4th house. Check out the video on my channel for those eclipse readings. So you must be prepared to be a little bit more patient as you push ahead with major career changes. After the 18th, you will know which doors are open to you and which are certainly not. The 8th aspect of Mars on the 11th house has got pluses and minuses. Let's get the pluses first, yeah? This can open up new sources of income, extra income, income on the side, new doors which can open up to you, providing you with necessary resources. That will happen for some of you, definitely. But it's also going to create conflict with your friendship networks because you are coming across people who are also having stress in their life and they're not supporting you in the way you would expect them to. So once again, the key is patience is needed in this rather agitating transit for Leo sign. For Virgo Moon and Virgo Lagna, you've been waiting for this transit for a long time. Since Mars entered your 1st house a few months ago, you've been ready for the time when Mars in your 3rd house will give you the courage to say the things you've left unsaid and to do the things you've wanted to do. In fact, Mars with Ketu will actually make you more ruthless than you normally are. You're not a ruthless person, but my goodness, people are going to be astounded by the changes and the attitude which you have in this transit. What you will find yourself doing is speaking out and confronting many difficult situations that you've been just letting ride. These may be health situations, this may be co-worker situations, litigation, conflicts, competitions. You will put all of your best energy into finally resolving these, and for the most part, it's going to be tremendously successful. Communication and travel in your life is probably going to happen, but as I say, be careful, especially around 14th of December, especially with foreign travel. As I've discussed on the video, Mars Ketu conjunction can make this really difficult. But communication with teachers and higher education people, if you should be in education, are going to be very helpful to you. They may be a little bit fraught sometimes, but you will make your wishes clear and compromise will be there, and your whole education experience gets 100% better if you should be a student during this Mars Scorpio transit. And finally, the 8th aspect of Mars on the 10th house is one of change. So sudden events may occur that cause you to just leave your job. You may give in your notice, or very unusually for Virgo, just walk out of the whole situation. You're looking for something better and you're not prepared to put up with less actually now. Also, you may find good opportunities within your workplace, but they require some new training. Mars in the 3rd house gives really good success actually in skill-based training. So your career is going to take off in a whole new direction through the actions which you take during this transit. Just avoid the confrontations with the boss and with your co-workers, which will not work out well. And of course, because Mars is in the third house, avoid too much agitation with your siblings or your neighbors. The best thing to do is to focus on your own work, which you normally do. Focus on your own problems, sort them out, because Mars gives you tremendous power in this transit for a real transformation in your daily life, which will satisfy you tremendously. For Libra Moon, Libra Lagna, with Mars in your first house recently, great changes have taken place. Domestically, there may have been upset and emotions, particularly from your moon, that have not been easy. But now, as Mars comes into the second house, it's all about sorting out your financial situations and also thinking about where you really want to be in life, where you will actually find security. Now, because Mars is your seventh lord, and because this seventh lord is 8 houses away from the seventh house, your spouse may be feeling ill or insecure or having some financial or workplace difficulties. Whatever it is, your spouse is in difficulty also. So you're not only looking after yourself, but you're sort of looking after your spouse as well. And even family members may need your attention excessively. Mars' second house puts tremendous energy into your family circle in this transit. In addition, of course, Mars makes a fourth aspect onto the house of children. So you may be starting a family at this time, and it may be quite stressful for various reasons. Or you may have trouble with children who you already have. They may be going through a really stressful period, and you are putting almost a lot of stress onto them to try to contain the situation. So it's very stressful family-wise. But most of all, if you are in education, it's exceptionally so. Now, this transit has particular importance for any of you in any sort of education. Mars aspect onto the fifth house of wisdom and learning and on the ninth house of higher education means that you're feeling ill at ease in your educational endeavors. You're feeling out of your depth, insecure, and even not supported. The Mars aspect on the 8th house of debt, you may feel like you've taken on too much debt and you want to drop the course altogether. The best thing is to take advice, because Mars aspect on the 9th house will give you good advisors if you look for them. But here's the thing, you're far better off waiting at this time because of the Ketu aspect just virtually putting you into a complete incapacitated state, because Libra, the one thing you hate to make is a decision, right? So having to make a snap decision about education now won't be easy, but it will be a bit easier for you when Mars gets into the next house, the house of Sagittarius. Much more favorable for you. So when Mars is in Sagittarius at the end of January, from then on, you will know what you want to do with education. So don't make snap decisions at this time. You will get over these feelings of insecurity. In addition, for everybody, the aspect of Mars on the 9th house gives a lot of interaction with your father or with your father's family. Again, it can be favorable in some respect in that you may get support and help from there, but it's all about really trying not to make yourself feel too agitated and insecure during this transit, because for everybody, when Mars gets into the next sign, as I've said, you will make dramatic changes with much more ease and far less frustration. And the final factor I have to bring up is what you're eating, what's your diet. Mars in the 2nd house. This is the house of food intake. You can be a compulsive, almost impulsive eater at this time. Be really careful with that. The Scorpio Moon and Lagna, you've been waiting for this moment for quite a while now. Mars to come home again. Your Lord home in his own sign. Listen carefully to what I've said at the beginning of the video. It all applies to you. All of a sudden, you're in the planning stage. You are definitely making the plans for your future now that will completely transform many aspects of your life. Ketu is the co-lord of your sign, and with Mars, all the power is with you. Your word becomes the law. What you do, other people have to go along with. So use this power very wisely now. Make sure that you don't disturb relationships. Now, there may be many domestic changes, which may include disturbance to some primary relationships. First of all, Mars has a 4th aspect onto the 4th house of the chart. So this is going to make for domestic quarrels, and all sorts of problems coming up in your home life which you have to get a grip on. But because Mars is so strong, particularly after 18th of December, you will sort out domestic issues completely. But before then, they're a little bit out of control, to be certain. And with your partner, you're becoming a little bit heavy-handed maybe, or there's contention coming to you from your partner because Ketu is in the first house and Rahu in the 7th house. So it's a make or break moment with your partner. But if you don't want to break with your partner, you don't have to. You just have to try to find some agreement now. But complete honesty and openness will be demanded of you in this period. And you can be secretive. So you have to let go of a little bit of that high level of control. Mars in the first house from the moon and the Lagna can make you fitter, healthier, because you put a lot of attention onto your physical self. But the aspect to the 8th house itself, of course, because Mars has an 8th aspect, means that you could be open to accidents and mishaps like many people are, particularly in this Mars Ketu transit around December 14th. So take extra care at that time. And you may make a dramatic change in your business situation now, because Mars aspects 7th and 8th house. This may be the moment you totally cut your losses and start anew, which could be very favorable. So make the most of the power given to you, Scorpio, in this transit. Any of you involved in any research work, academic research work, or even your own occult study, you will make the most tremendous progress and have most intense realizations during this Mars Ketu period in your first house. Sagittarius, Moon and Lagna. Mars, the Lord of your 12th house, in the 12th house can be empowering in some ways, but because he is the Lord of the 5th house, he gives you a sense of real adventure at this time. You may want to travel far and wide, but because Ketu is there can be difficulties, as I've spoken about on the video, particularly around December the 14th. But the most important thing about Mars 12th house is he gives you tremendous insight in your spiritual and occult study. You can make tremendous progress. Some of you may even go onto pilgrimage at this time. But as I've said on the video, Mars with Ketu becomes accident prone, especially in the 12th house. So take care, particularly when you are out and about. Don't be rushing as you are inclined to do, or you could have mishaps. You're going to become quite stressed, though, everybody, with this Mars 12th house, because you are uncertain of your direction. You're keeping a lot of information to yourself as well, afraid to really put your cards on the table in various aspects of your life. Very important to watch your finances, particularly expenses, and the debts in your life could mount up tremendously. You become impulsive, almost thoughtless in your spending at this time because Ketu is there with Mars like a black hole through which all of your money is just pouring in. Take some note of this, or you could get yourself into a very sticky situation. But the aspect of Mars to the 3rd house now is actually quite favourable. This is a house of siblings, cousins, neighbours. There may be some contentions with them, most definitely, but you may get incredible information from them, things you've needed to know for a long time that will be really inspiring to you, actually give you some knowledge of what your next steps are in life. And Mars aspecting 3rd house is fantastic for skill-based training. You can take up some new training course now, or even plan to do so more lightly with this Mars Scorpio, which will be absolutely the right thing for you. And the aspect onto your 6th house will affect your health tremendously. This will go depends how you use the Mars energy. If you go to excess with excess movement, traveling and spending, and just exhaust yourself, your health is likely to completely break down at this time. But if you take more time in quietude, pilgrimage, religious activities, you can get good renewal of your health situation. So it's about avoiding extremes, because sorting out long-term health issues becomes extremely important in this Mars aspect to your 6th house. And finally, of course, Mars 8th aspect onto the house of partner. The eighth aspect of Mars onto the seventh house shows that there may be difficulty with your partner at this time because, as I say, you're in a very secretive mood. So your partner doesn't quite know what you're up to with all this Mars Ketu energy in your 12th house. But nonetheless, because Jupiter has now moved in, as you know, to your 3rd house, you've got to be careful to be completely honest at all times with your partner. Don't hide anything. You might have nothing to hide, but they may think that you do, and that's the point. Partner's health may also suffer from this 8th aspect of Mars. Capricorn Moon, Capricorn Lagna, both you've been waiting for this transit also for quite some time. Mars in the 11th house is so powerful to grant things you've wanted for a long time, to give you courage to get the things you actually want in life, and to improve your relationships with other people, even though they can become a little bit contentious. Mars is a ruler of your 4th house and also, of course, of the 11th house. So he's all about what makes you feel happy in life. 4th house is about your happiness. So your happiness in life will increase generally in a very good way during this transit, mainly because you are being a little less cautious, but in a practical way, because you're never an impulsive person. You think everything through. So the planning process of Mars Scorpio, as I've been talking about on this video, is extremely helpful for you. You make excellent plans now. You get excellent information on your next step in many areas of your life, and you get control of so many things that have been out of control recently. Mars will definitely bring you gains also in this 11th house transit. You may not seem to be getting them to begin with because Mars gets close to Ketu and can almost create a black hole and a feeling that you've just lost all of your chances for promotion or wage increase, but you haven't. Be patient. New opportunities, new doors are opening to you, and your financial situation will improve by leaps and bounds during this transit. It's because Mars makes a 4th aspect onto the 2nd house of your finances. So you can expect to stabilize many difficult financial situations, and with your family, there is much more openness, honesty, and a real connection with them as well. But with your children, if you have them, there could be some health issues perhaps with them and some difficulties, but you will immediately overcome these, and they are nothing to be concerned about at all. The aspect of Mars onto the 6th house is excellent. You will get rid of any health concerns. If you had long-term health concerns, Mars in this house gives you good consultation, good information, and you finally know what you have to do to take control of these health situations. If you have litigation ongoing, you will be totally victorious. If you have difficulties with your spouse, you will sort those out too. So make the most of this powerful and dramatically favorable transit. Aquarius, Moon and Lagna, take caution during this transit of Mars in the 10th house. There are some benefits, but it's going to catch you unawares at some time. See, Mars rules the 3rd house of your chart, so he makes you quarrelsome and ill at ease with other people all the way through this transit. It's quite dramatic, as he is in the most prominent house in your chart, the 10th house. There may be difficulties in your workplace. You may want to make changes and you may be unable to. You may be, some of you, even forced to make a change which you don't want to make in your job. That can often be seen because Mars is with Ketu in this house. In either case, the best way is just to go along with this and not to fight it too much. I promise you, when Mars goes forward into the next house in your chart, 11th house, into Sagittarius, you will sort out all of these problems, and your financial situation, which seems a little bit shaky now, will become much more secure. Whatever you do, avoid confrontation with superiors and the boss, because it's going to go very badly for you, and your whole reputation could be seriously damaged. Your health can improve though, because Mars' 4th aspect on the 1st house can give you new ideas, new exercise routines, all different ideas to help you improve your health, which will work out very well indeed. You become invigorated and very active during this period. But don't forget that the 4th house of your chart is still undergoing a sort of revolution with Rahu there. So you've been undergoing a great deal of domestic unrest and difficulty. And you're a fixed sign. You don't like these sort of changes. But Mars agitating here might be pushing you to make sudden domestic changes now. If you can avoid them at this time, it would be actually better. Mars aspect onto the 5th house could bring children into your life, some of you, or there can be difficulties with your children or surprising events with them. Once again, staying calm, focused, and you can overcome all of these problems by not being too dramatic about them, trying not to be too controlling, because this is the 8th aspect of Mars and it can make you super controlling of things which you cannot actually change. So don't be fearful about this. Just go along with it and you will find amazing solutions to any problems that develop. And this includes education. You may have sudden developments if you are a student and feel out of control on your course. Once again, stick with it. These will iron out very quickly. But Pisces, Moon and Lagna Mars, a very important planet for you because he rules your 9th house of good fortune and your 2nd house of security and your finances in life. So he makes you feel secure. And when he goes through a difficult transit, you begin to feel insecure. And that's what's going to happen in this transit for a little bit of the time. But because Mars is in his own sign, you will overcome many of these factors. Mars' 9th house can make for interesting developments in your education, higher education, religious, metaphysical, intuitive education, occult study, everything. You put a lot of effort into learning during this time and amazing realizations come to you in this Scorpionic Mars. Don't forget, Scorpio is about, as I've said, bringing out hidden factors. So you become powerful with amazing hidden knowledge during this period. You may have communication with your father, which can be a little bit contentious, but with your father or your father's family, new information comes to you from them that is actually useful to you. Mars aspect, though, onto the 12th house shows you've got definite itchy feet. This is a house of travel, and the 3rd house and 12th house aspect of Mars show that you really want to be on the move now. But as I've said on the video, Mars with Ketu is a difficult time for travel. Take a great deal of caution, particularly around 14th of December. But travel in your mind, if you like, is definitely favored. If you are in higher education, it's a superb time. You can do tremendously hard work, but also great research work because of Mars's 4th aspect onto the 12th house. Working on your own quietly and with great insight is going to give you tremendous results in your education. As well as this, even if you are not in education, your dream life and your subconscious mind becomes activated by Mars. So tremendous solutions to ongoing problems come to you in this way during the transit. This will be good because Mars aspect on the 12th house will increase expenses in your life and even difficulties in your local environment with neighbors, siblings even, and cousins in your family. Watch your communication. The aspect of Mars, 7th aspect on the 3rd house, makes you impulsive in your speech. You're not being understood so much when you're speaking to people as you think you are. You are coming over aggressive and forceful. So try to avoid this, or as I say, confrontation in this Mars Ketu transit is not to be encouraged. But the final aspect of Mars is super important. The 8th aspect of Mars on the 4th house of your chart is going to make great domestic changes almost impossible to avoid now. What's happening is you've let things slip for so long, and the 8th aspect of Mars brings up unexpected problems because of this. So you're going to have to spend quite a lot of money, time and energy on your domestic situation during this Mars Scorpio transit. But because it's a basically favorable transit for you, you will make progress with these. You might find it tiring and absolutely exhausting, but changing things which are not working domestically will be good. Watch out for difficulties though in your mother's life, some of you, or in your female family members. They may be having difficulty and they may need your time and energy at this time. Check out the meaning of the eclipse happening in Scorpio right now on December the 4th. It's up on your screen. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below. Goodbye for now, and God bless everyone.